Be strong.
What's up, party people? Roster the People is back. Week 3. It's Thursday. You know what we're here to do. We're going to answer all your lovely questions and then get ready to suffer through a Thursday night game that I wish they would just cancel. So enjoy that in the background. Hopefully you can derive some sort of fun enjoyment from from a game involving the Giants. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Well, and no Ayuk. So that's the other part of that is, man.
I'm not surprised he's not playing, honestly. Like the man messed up both his shoulders in the last game and he kept going back out there. I was like, I respect the effort, but just sit down. Like just you're obviously hurt because he hurt himself, and then every time he would fall down, he would hurt himself again. And I'm just sit down. Like you just be done for the day. It's fine. It's fine. Like you've done what you need to do. So hopefully you have some quality Ayuk replacements. We'll be happy to answer any Ayuk related questions because I'm sure there will be several as we kind of go through here and kind of piece this all together. It's taking a little longer than normal, Jason, for the questions to start funneling in. Normally they come flying in like at 100 miles an hour, but I suspect that a lot of people don't have Thursday night questions this week because they're probably not playing Giants. Because why would you? And then
they probably are playing their 49ers.
Right. And so that's kind of where we're at. Here we go. High hopes for Waller tonight.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I don't have many high hopes for people that are going to be playing in blue in a bad matchup. But what's unfortunate is you probably are stuck. This is one of those situations where you're probably just going to have to roll Waller out there because you paid for it, and you're probably going to have to use it. I don't see any realistic way that if you have Waller, you won't be playing Waller. So that's kind of where we're at, unless you have some sort of crazy shenanigans over there, sir.
Well, I mean, what are some other options? Like I'm thinking maybe Zach Ertz, but he is probably picked up this week just because of how many targets he's been seeing.
Even with that, I still don't think I could bring myself to do it. Like, who could you pick up? That's probably the best one that you could realistically even pick up that you'd even consider in this scenario. Because he was been getting the targets, but you're gonna look yourself in the mirror the next day and feel like that was the right call? Probably not. There's nothing that's really available that you could pick up on tight end waivers that I'd recommend starting over Waller. But yeah, I would be trying to temper my expectations a little here.
Kincaid, maybe if Knox is out, he might have been dropped because people. I'm trying to give other options.
Like an 8-team league, maybe. Like, what league are you playing? And that's going to happen. Kincaid is still rostered in like 85% of league. I don't see any universe where that's going to happen. I mean, I guess live in hope, right? But now my advice would be just play Waller. I find it highly questionable that you'd have anybody else. But yeah, as far as your direct question, high hopes, not really. You're kind of just hoping that he catches some sort of touchdown. If he can catch a touchdown, you're hoping for it. If I'm interested in anything Giants related, it's the return of Wan'Dale Robinson. Although this is not the matchup I was hoping he'd come back for, but it is what it is. Life is what it is these days.
Bud's back.
Yeah, Bud is back. Bud's been around a lot recently, which we appreciate. Swift, Addison, London. That's an interesting question.
I think it's Swift if Gainwell's out.
I think that's easy.
Yeah, but after that, if he's playing, I'm probably going to roll out Addison.
Kenny Gainwell did practice today. I'd like to point that out.
I understand. And he doesn't have a designation on Fantasy Pros right now, which makes it even more likely that he's going to play, which is why I'm giving the secondary option of Addison here. Because while Drake London is full of all this talent, has all this opportunity, I cannot trust the Falcons to throw the ball to him.
They'll throw it to him, but will they throw it in a way that he could actually catch it?
Yeah.
Would be the bigger issue. It's touchdown or bust for London. Addison in many ways is kind of the same thing because he's really feasting on those like crazy deep targets, and you're hoping it's a busted play and he takes it to the house. I'd say it's largely the same thing. If Kenny Gainwell for some reason isn't playing, it's wheels up on DeAndre Swift again. If Gainwell was going to play, I'd think long and hard about playing Addison. I think that would be where I would land on that. We'll have to just monitor the practice reports for tomorrow and then see where it goes. Because yeah, we're only working with a 2-game sample size. In the week where they were both active, both being Gainwell and Swift, it was a split, and that split heavily favors Gainwell. One good week from Swift. I don't know if that's going to be enough for the Eagles to rethink that arrangement. So
No, but they might be a tandem. But again, that's still going to be that makes me even more nervous for both of them.
yeah, that it's
because that's what they like to do in Philadelphia.
Yeah, unless your name's Rashad Penny, then you just don't play at all.
He
it'll
touched
never
the
not
ball some.
it'll never not be funny. And then they're playing Tampa Bay, which is a meh matchup. It's not the Tampa Bay defense of old or of the last few years, I guess. So it's a better matchup than that. That front seven is not as scary as it used to be. But I'd probably just roll it out there with Addison and hope. You're just really hoping for a busted play at that point. You're hoping that Addison can get behind the defense and they hit it. They're going to throw it enough. You know that much.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about them trying to run
the
ball.
week. It's not close.
Not worried about them trying to run the ball at all. But monitor the practice reports, and then I'd retarget from there. That's kind of where I would go.
That's a more of the interesting part of it. It's just that's the highest over under, and the closest one is 6 points lower. So
exactly. So it's been an interesting day, as it were, here with some of the practice reports. Not only did Ayuk get ruled out, Saquon Barkley got ruled out for tonight, so you'll need a replacement for that. But by now, you've probably already figured that out.
Definitely not as nice running back.
You'll need a replacement for every. Yeah, no Breida. I don't want to hear about Breida. Don't bring it up. I don't want to hear about Gary Brightwell. Not interested. None of that's going to matter. It's a terrible matchup. And we've seen Matt Breida try to do this before. It usually goes really, really poorly. There's just a whole pile of injuries. We were having this conversation on Tuesday, Jason, where I was saying you could make the argument that we're already into the point where the 3 most valuable players in fantasy are Bijan, CMC, and who was my third? I
Justin
had a third.
Jefferson?
No.
RB?
Yeah. Tony Pollard. That was my third. But you can already make that's the 3 most valuable players in fantasy already. We already did it. We're 2 weeks in. Whoa. Those are your 3 MVPs.
Kyron Williams.
I mean, sure, but the whole it's that bad. Like everybody is looking for running back replacements already. So if you're looking for replacements for Saquon for the week, they ain't going to be going in tonight's game. I'll tell you that much right now. And you probably missed the Jerome Ford lottery because that you either had it or somebody blew their entire fab budget, and I don't even necessarily blame them. What are your expectations in the background, Jason, for Ford v. Hunt?
I mean, I think based on the offseason that we're already kind of looking at the fact that Ford should be ahead, but I think it's going to look similar to what it has been with Ford getting those now going to the Chubb role while Hunt goes into the Ford role, which is closer to 30-35% target or snap share. So I'm in on Ford because
but you'd have to be.
Yeah, I mean the Browns have kind of showed
the Browns are in on Ford, and they have a good running back historically.
And we also haven't seen him. Like we haven't seen Hunt this year.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling people on Tuesdays. I haven't seen it. He's been on his couch. And then they had the whole offseason to evaluate this, and they decided, we're just going to go with Ford. It's cheaper, and it's younger player, and it makes a lot of sense. So we'll have to just see where this whole kind of thing ends up. But I'm envisioning a 60-40 split in favor of Ford week in, week out. And it's worth blowing your entire fab budget for. But Bud has another question, which is sneaky waiver players. Sneaky is a good way to put that. And there are a couple that are worth taking a look at. One of them is actually Elijah Mitchell, who has been dropped in a tremendous amount of leagues after the 0 last week. He's actually under 50% owner or rostered at this point. So he actually now qualifies for the waiver show. I think that's a mistake because if there was a problem with CMC at any point, that's who they're going to be given the first opportunity to, and we've seen that in the past. So as far as sneaky goes, he's actually way more available than he probably should be because he should still be rostered in a lot of leagues. And if I'm the person rostering CMC and I wasn't able to get him in my draft, I'm going to go pop to the waiver wire. You can probably pick him up for $1. I picked him up in one of my leagues this week for a 5 spot. $5 seems very reasonable to hold that on the end of my bench for a little while and see what happens. What about you? Is there anybody kind of sneaky, a little bit further down the radar that you're looking for?
Well, I mean, if you're looking tonight, Robinson and Hyatt have both been kind of that. Robinson, of course, I've touted off all offseason. And if you're looking at specifically for this week, I'd be looking at DJ Shark if he plays, with Andy Dalton likely being the quarterback. Makes me very interested in him for that deep ball that he's likely going to be seeing a lot of. So, but after that, man, it's
I'm less interested in tonight. I'm more looking at things like Robert Woods, for example, who
I
ain't
touched
dead
on that.
yet.
I touched that on waiver wire. I nailed that on the wire.
He ain't dead yet. The old man's going to try and ride it out one more time. Shout out to my man, Robert Woods. Bobby Trees. He ain't dead yet. Rumors of the death are greatly exaggerated. The target share is real. I was going to bring up Adam Thielen, which is I'm sure you talked about on Monday as well. The Andy Dalton thing's a little bit scarier. So yeah, now so rest of season is like, that's kind of where we've been pivoting into. Robert Woods would be an interesting one for rest of season. Adam Thielen is an interesting one for rest of season. I was going to recommend him for strictly speaking this week, but less so with Andy Dalton. But when they're both healthy, him and Bryce Young, that seems to be the way he's looking. Can't blame him. And then there's a handful of other ones that I'm sure you went through on Monday. Yeah, Josh Downs is a good one potentially because somebody's got to catch those intermediate targets, work the slot, and I like Jaden Reed. I've been on that since the preseason. In fact, yes, I do believe Jaden Reed is a good stash. They don't really have the volume, so we'll have to see what happens when Watson comes back. But in a universe, in a vacuum, Jaden Reed is worth holding on to because he seems to be punching above his weight class, if that makes sense. He's off to a good start, and I was recommending him in the preseason as well. So there's players like that I think are worth taking a look at and holding on to in the background. What about you, Jason? As we've got some additional questions, so we need to kind of move from this topic. But
yeah, I mean, if I'm trying to think, maybe by now Zach
welcome
Charbonnet.
back, Polo. Welcome back, buddy.
Has probably been widely available. That's one of the players that you think is going to take longer to develop. They clearly like Walker in Seattle, so having Charbonnet as a backup, he's probably one that you're looking at that's probably widely available. Tajay Spears now is probably going up with Henry being out.
Spears is going the wrong way. That's an interesting stash, but he's the rostership percent. Do that if you're going to do that. Go do it now.
Yeah, you have to do it now because Henry's
already got. Then there's already issues with it, and I've had a million questions all week about is Spears worth a stash. So this is something that people are highly aware of, and as I will tell everyone, yes, but Spears is here for a good time, not a long time. So, like, get used to the idea that that's a temporary thing because one knock to the knee, and that is maybe not just season ending, that's career ending for him because he's already on his last legs. I'm such a bitch. And then I've got one more that is a little bit interesting. Charbonnet is a good one. He's under 50% at this point. So take a look at that. And then the last one is Tank Dell. I hate recommending 2 Texans. It's weird that you'd recommend 2 Texans.
Did it on Monday, man.
It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with anything other than they throw so much because they can't run the ball worth a you know what. Couldn't run the ball if their lives depended on it. So take a look at Tank Dell, just because he's a little small. Scares me for his long-term prospects, but they love throwing it to him. So And then
He's very explosive with it.
speaking of stashes, here you go, Jason. I'll let you have this conversation. There you go. Soaring Eagle's back. Talked to him on Tuesday as well. And Josh Reynolds is a hot topic here.
I mean, not it isn't ideal, but I think with the fact that Amon-Ra's dealing with his turf toe, that
Amon-Ra practiced in full today, so I'm not super worried about it.
Still think he's the guy opposite of him. Groin's going to be. That's always tough, but I still am guessing that they're going to throw him out there, especially since they still won't have Williams, so it won't matter.
Well, the problem with Josh Reynolds is actually this.
Laporta?
It's historically this is the issue. When he's fully healthy, he plays really well, but when he gets hurt, it tends to really put a crimp in his ability to play properly. And then Adam Thielen would be a good replacement at flex, except I don't want to deal with it with the Andy Dalton thing. So if you're telling me that your choices this week are Reynolds with the groin or Adam Thielen with Andy Dalton as his quarterback, I'm probably just going to play Reynolds and just live my life. Because to be honest, don't really want to have to deal with either. But I do have Reynolds slightly ahead of Thielen in my rankings for this week's, and it's mostly due to the Andy Dalton thing. But I hate Andy Dalton, and I hate dealing with the players that he has to throw to, and he's going to get sacked a billion times, and by the second quarter, everybody's going to remember why they've tried to make Andy Dalton a starter for a million years in this league, and it never works out. The Bengals tried, the Bears tried. Feel like there's other teams in there that I can't remember. Was it the Saints? I feel like there's other teams in there that I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
But his
lot of history.
That's
a lot of history on this mountain.
Only thing that's helping him is the fact that he's going against the Seahawks, which is a decent matchup.
Yeah, but would you not agree? Would you rather just roll Reynolds out there even with the groin?
Yeah, because it's still only going to be that 5 or 6 targets, and he's going to get you to double digits. So. Or 5 or 6 receptions.
As long as he doesn't re-aggravate the groin, like basically in the first quarter.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're worried about. But beyond that, so at this point, the game is getting ready to kick off. And my theory about how nobody cares about this Thursday night game because they either found their Saquon replacement earlier and they already have Ayuk replacements. Nobody cares about this Thursday night game. This is the least Thursday night questions we've had, Jason, so far this year. Nobody.
I was really hoping that it would just drive people to us because they'd be so bored of not watching this game that.
No, they're going to watch it. They're going to suffer through it. Gosh darn it.
10.5 points, man. The next closest is Jacksonville. Or no.
Game...
Ooh, Bears Chiefs. I forgot about that one. Oof.
I don't want to talk about the Bears.
This week,
I recuse myself from that conversation.
Bears, Chiefs, Cowboys, and Cardinals.
Oh, Michael, this happens every year. Someone will take a season-ending injury on your team, and so what you typically got to do. It depends what your ammunition is.
It should be join the Discord.
Well, possibly,
that's the correct answer.
That usually helps, but I will say, general advice. It depends on how your league format actually works. So I play in a lot of leagues that are either dynasty leagues or keeper leagues and things like that. In that situation, you got to take stock of who you're going to be. Who do you want to be when you grow up? Because at that point, you start talking about trading draft picks. If you think your team can survive, you start thinking about trading draft picks. This is partially why I like playing in dynasty leagues and keeper leagues, is draft pick trading. It keeps everything more interesting. Because what happens is eventually teams get eliminated and then they just stop paying attention or caring. But they have good players locked on their team. And that just takes them out of the pool. You know what I mean? Because they'll stop trying. They won't respond. There's no incentive for them to trade you anything because they don't care if you go to the playoffs or not. They're dead and they just move on with their lives. They just go on with whatever else they got going on in the background. It's a human thing. I get it. I understand. That's why I recommend dynasty leagues and keeper leagues. Because in dynasty, if you take enough injuries, what you might want to do is start trading for the future. If you're not going to the playoffs and you think you're not going to win in the next year or two, you start thinking about pulling in and go young and doing stuff like that. Or if you think you can, that's when you start thinking about mortgaging those future picks to go and get young, players that you can work with to keep your playoff hopes alive and try and win a title. That's my PSA for keeper and dynasty. But I get from the question, I don't think that's the situation here. So that's why standard redraft can be frustrating because you're 2-0. They're hoping you fail. They're loving the idea that you suck. Because now you're 2-0 and they want you to fail because it's a human thing. Again, I get it. It's like crabs in a bucket. That's why the other crabs will pull the crabs trying to escape back down. Google it. It's worth googling. The given your original question, if in redraft, what you probably are going to be forced into doing is trade. It's a combination of trades and the waiver wire. So what will help me is, do you play with like Fab or do you play with waiver priority? I would recommend you play with Fab for this reason, because waiver priority sucks. It's an old, outdated rule that no one likes and is stupid. But you should play with Fab, and it's a combination of both things. Assuming that you are playing with waiver priority, I assume it's it's straight redraft. It would have to be. But is it? I'm assuming it's also strictly waiver priority, and if that's the case, then you're kind of stuck on the waiver wire. You're just going to have to. So what you want to do is, in the future, you want to lobby your league to change to Fab, and you want to change to you want to make it a keeper league, make it more interesting. But you're going to want to start looking at trades. Is what you're going to want to do then, because waiver priority
have to overpay,
and you're probably going to have to overpay. So if you want to, we can try to answer this in a loose way now. But if you join our Discord, we have a trade advice thing, and we'll help you with that in the background. If you got some specific trades, I'll take a poke at it tonight while we're here on the air. But it's going to have to be trades and waiting for your waiver priority to rise and trying to get creative. That's what it's going to be. And for $5, Michael, we will do something called
roster
Jason,
resolution.
Thank you. Roster resolution. We will. My brain is pudding. Get out of the way. What we'll do is, for $5, we'll actually pack a Discord and we'll open one of these up and we'll go through your entire team and league and recommend who you should be targeting, recommend some trades for you, and we'll break the whole thing down.
And who we like on waivers and all.
All that stuff. All of it. We'll go through the whole thing, soup to nuts, with you. $5. But for now, if you've got some trade related stuff or waiver stuff, put it in the chat here tonight. We'll do our best to answer it for you. But I sympathize with where you're at, man. It sucks. Know that you're not alone. A lot of people are in that boat right now, because every running back in the league, except for the 3 guys that I mentioned at the top of the show, already got hurt. And that's just, remember when everybody, Jason, was talking about prioritizing wide receiver in the first couple rounds of their draft, and then every running back got injured? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, though, the ones that are still up, Christian McCaffrey, good. Shocking, Brian Robinson was later. Tony Pollard was another first, second round. Bijan, Henry.
No, for now.
Yeah.
Soaring Eagle has a question. Hunter Henry on the bench. Hot start. Wait. Is your question, should you start Hunter Henry over Dallas Goedert?
No, I think he's trying to look for a trade.
Oh, given his hot start. I can't read.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what people are going to give you for Dallas Goedert right now.
You're definitely. So I also have this issue. And I'm actually thinking about packaging with Terry McLaurin and going after running back, because clearly my strength right now is wide receiver. So, because we do an auction keeper league, and so with that in mind, I have Jefferson, Ridley, Olave. I'm relatively deep at wide receiver, so I'm thinking about doing those 2 and then aiming for example, like I kind of brought up, a Brian Robinson, a Bijan Robinson. I probably won't get Bijan. I'll probably have to add something else into that, but still.
Brian Robinson, you're probably overpaying. Terry McLaurin plus a Goddard for Brian Robinson is like too much.
But again, I'm 2-0. So it's a lot harder in that league to get anything done. So that's kind of where I'm looking. And if I want to go lower, I could probably end up. I mean, honestly, I'd want to go for James Cook, but
that's hard to trade for now, because James Cook, as I called, has way outkicked his expectations that other wrong people had, who are wrong and are just constantly wrong about being about their takes. People who will remain nameless. Check out the Buffalo Bills show at 32 Teams in 32 Days to see some of the wrong people that I'm referencing in the background there, and and about how that's through 2 weeks. That is that is not. I was gonna say by far. It's not actually by far, but it is my best call of the year. Is getting all the greedy little James Cook shares that I could wrap my greasy little meat hooks on, and I have so many to the point where if he actually does get hurt, I'm probably gonna be crying on this show at some point. Not like crocodile tears crying like I like to do. I mean like actually man crying, like ugly crying, like it's gonna like snot bubble. It's gonna be bad. But yeah, boy, what I would try to if you were gonna do that and take Goddard, let's talk about it like just what is Goddard worth by himself? That I think is the real question here. Like, what would Goddard be worth on his own?
So, are you want to look at what position do you want to look at first? That then?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like, it's a tough situation with that because it's hard to pin it down. Give me one moment here because I'm gonna pull up my little calculator that I built in the background. So bear with me for 2 seconds while I do this.
Like, do you think you could trade him for Michael Thomas?
I think you could probably do that, but I think you might be able to punch a little higher than that. It also depends.
The only issue with that is it gets real high real quick because then you have Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, and then that becomes and that with him being hurt, that definitely becomes the issue here.
I mean, Tank Dell, DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers, maybe. They're still pretty high though.
I think Dallas Goddard is probably worth something like, based on what my little tool says. I'm adjusting this slightly.
Josh Jacobs.
No, that's there's no way that would happen.
People are really down on him right now. That's the only reason I just floated it out there.
People.
Correct. But still, they are people.
Wrong. I think you're talking about like. I think you're talking about something like a Chris Godwin on the wide receiver side, neighborhood of that. I think that's kind of where you are, is something along those lines where it's I think you're talking about. I mean, if you could get T. Higgins, I think you'd be lucky. You know what I mean? Like I think that's probably about as high up the wide receiver chain as you could probably get for Goddard. And if somebody was willing to do that for you, I'd probably take it. You know what I mean? Like I'd probably.
Yeah, you'd also want to give him like one of your back end wide receivers, probably. I'm guessing you can't you can't just go straight up there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, more than likely not. It's tough. You know what I mean? Because this is why I don't like doing the high price tight end thing, because once you get to a point where it's like, well, no, I want to trade it, and it's like, well, what's it actually worth? No. Like it's like, yeah, it's really hard to quantify what something like that is actually worth on the open market in the background.
Currently tight end 40.
Yeah.
Granted, Pat Freiermuth is also in that area, so
I know. I think that's probably about the right neighborhood, though. Is you'd be lucky to get that high up. I think what's more likely is you'd probably have to settle for like a. I mean, is Dallas Goedert worth Terry McLaurin? Like that's kind of.
I'm telling you, man. I think the Michael Thomas thing's a good spot to aim for, because I think you could get that done relatively easy, just straight up.
You probably could get that done So that's kind of where it is. You're looking for like a wide receiver. Dallas Goedert's probably worth a wide receiver 3 because he's had that horrible week 1 and then he had a pretty decent week 2. But it's going to be really hard to predict week in, week out because they have too many mouths to feed on the Eagles. They're just too good at this point. That's kind of the issue. Running back, I mean, you're not going to like the running back that you're going to get back. I'm going to tell you that right now. Like I don't think anybody would give you Brian Robinson for Dallas Goedert at this point. So you're going to have to go lower than that. And do you really want to trade Dallas Goedert for anything lower than that at running back?
Oh, damn.
How screwed would you have to be?
Week. I was like, Rashad White would probably be a good one, but he's...
Yeah, but Rashad White just had a huge week after a bad week 1, and his usage is... Even with the bad production in week 1, he still had the usage.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to cut bait on Rashad White at this point.
David
They're
Montgomery?
damn sure not going to give you Brian Robinson. Uh, I think you're talking about like, what did you say?
David Montgomery.
I mean, you want to wait that out. Like that's going to be the issue. That's going to be a headache for a long time. I wouldn't want Damian Pierce. I mean, do you want Brees Hall? That whole team is a disaster, and it's going to be bad now this year.
Roshan. Could try
I
and
wouldn't
hope
do
for
it
the
for
best, but
I
that's
would. I wouldn't do it for Roshan. I'd just rather have Goddard at that point. I'd rather try and trade Hunter Henry if I was going to do that. Like that's if I'm going that low. Like you're talking about like best case scenario, he's like RB 35. Like that, and that's kind of the issue. Is like it's going to be really hard to try and trade Dallas Goddard for any kind of running back that you would want. It's almost like you'd want to package Goddard with something else to get to a decent running back, if that's where you're going to go. Because running back right now is hard to trade for, man. Them prices is by the gram. They ain't charging you by the. They're charging crack prices for running back right now out there. It's by the gram, baby. They ain't doing by the pound no more. Like that's not how they're doing that. Like,
and honestly, what you might be doing is trying to trade for Jonathan Taylor or Alvin Kamara and hoping for the best. Like you're going to have to package something, but
I'll talk to you about promoting my website all day long.
Yeah, we got this all day.
Yeah, I'll do this all day long. Yeah, Bud, if you sign up for our Discord, which I'm going to put your question back up, but I'm going to direct you right here. The link is in the video description. We have a Discord that is our main way we communicate with people. So go ahead, check that out. There's a link to it. You can sign up. We'll add you to our Discord. And for $5, we have a service where we'll break down your entire team. It's $5 per team. I want to be clear.
Because we don't want to go through like Daniel Ward's 50
I'm not going through all 12 of Daniel Ward's teams for $12. For $5. No, it's $5 per team. But for $5, what I'll do is I'll open this up and I'll bring on multiple people. It'll be me, Jason, probably Mike Manning, Mike Berland, our trade guy. I'll bring as many people as I can, probably at least 3, but probably 4 or 5. And we'll break down your team. We'll go through your entire league. It would be helpful if you could send us the sleeper link or whatever. I don't care what platform. Send us the link. We'll go through your entire team. We'll go through your waiver wire, and we'll go through your opponents, and we'll start trying to help you figure out, okay, who should you be targeting on the waiver wire? Who should you be trying to trade for? What are some deals that you can try to put together and package that to try and help you get out of whatever particular situation you're in? And obviously, you'll probably have questions that have been on your mind about your specific team. We'll make sure to answer those as well. But it's specific advice tailored to you and your team, and I will load this room with our staff, and then at the end of it, you get a pre-recorded video that we will send to you, and it's $5. So I challenge anybody to come up with a better deal than that. If you can find it, if you can find a better deal, I'll figure out how to do better. But that's the best deal in fantasy right now. Is for $5, we'll do it. So, all right, bud, we're here. Sign up for the Discord. Hit us up on Discord. Let us know. We'll direct you to how to buy the thing from our website. There's a little code that we have up that you just got to buy. And then we'll get a day and time together. We'll record the whole thing. And then we'll send that to you. Just got to give us some time. If you need it for Sunday, this Sunday, get it in today, please. because it's already Thursday night, Holmes. And not to be not for nothing. I got to work tomorrow. like so this is pretty much going to have to happen on Saturday if it's going to happen. But if it doesn't need to be for Sunday, let us know and we'll pull something together and I'll get everybody off and running. But yeah, if you're running into any issues, let us know and we'll help you out with all of that in the background. And to close the loop here, Soaring Eagle, you might want to package this together. Like we kind of told you, like Goddard on his own, kind of not worth as much as what you probably paid, which is really frustrating. But it is where we're at right now. So you probably have to package something to get where you want to go. And it would help if I knew if you were trying to target a wide receiver or a running back. I could also make the argument for trying to trade Hunter Henry off the incredibly hot start that he's on, because somebody might actually like take their brain out of their head and overpay you for it. So there is that idea too. Because he's a hot ticket right now. Awesome, Bud. We're happy to help out, Bud. Oh God, that's confusing.
Yep.
I
knew where you're going the second you said
it. All right, Polo. What's up, buddy? Okay. What to do with Pat Fryermuth? Cry. I can tell you what. Lie down on the floor. Try not to cry, and then cry a lot. That's what I've been doing with all my Pat Fryermuth shares. That's my advice. Jason, do you have more meaningful advice, like helpful advice? Because
I'm no. I wish I could give
so you just
some
want
kind
more
of-
sarcasm from me? Okay, I got plenty more. I got.
Well, I mean, because I was really thinking last week was going to be a good week for him, even with his injury. They went to Pickens instead. They stayed away from Austin. They stayed away from Robinson. It was just Pickens show and Warren. I mean, Warren looked good too. Like it.
Pickens was brutal for most of that game. He caught a 70-yard touchdown.
Still
after,
counts, man.
Yeah, but it doesn't change.
Volume.
Bullshit. Volume.
He had the volume compared to everybody else. That's for dang sure.
That bar is so low that it's a tripping hazard in hell. That bar is not helpful at all. The Steelers look brutal, just in general. The thing you're going to count on here is that there's Paul. I hate to tell you, there isn't much you can do. You can't trade him because you're just going to take a bath on it. No one's going to give you anything good. If they're not giving you anything good for Goddard, Fryermuth's been worse than that. So what are they going to give you? Nothing. And then that's the problem. What are you going to replace him with? Zach Ertz would be my recommendation because Hunter Henry's long gone. But Zach Ertz is still available. I would take a look at that. Might take a look at Jake Ferguson. Fun fact:
Still available.
who leads the league in end zone targets this year?
I told you this week one.
Yeah, who leads the league in end zone targets? It's just he's got 7. It's Jake Ferguson. They're all ugly as hell. They're so ugly.
I were the first week.
I know it's so ugly. Like, but and then he didn't catch any of them, and he caught one of the 2 in week 2. But that's because it's the Cowboys. That's what the Cowboys do.
Well, they're winning on their defense too. So that's
helping well, and then they lost Trayvon Diggs, which won't help their defense. So, but yeah, Pat Fryermuth is playing the Raiders this week, and the Raiders can't stop nobody, no how, no way. So you're really kind of hoping that this is a get right week for him. But there isn't a whole lot you can do, man. Like you could try to pick somebody up to stream out of this particular problem, but tight end is so brutal right now that even how bad he's been,
even Noah Gray is tight end 18 on the year, baby.
Yeah, but that means nothing. As far as like the ECR, even in the ECR, Pat Fryermuth has been brutal, and he's tight end 9 in the ECR this week because that's just tight end as a position.
I have him at 14.
It doesn't matter. Like tight end is as a position. Tight end is a tire fire, train wreck, horrible nightmare right now, worse than normal somehow already. It's Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, and then everybody else is a tire fire. And it's like Kittle, tire fire. Waller, tire fire. Ingram, actually slightly better than tire. We'll give him dumpster fire. Slightly better than tire fire. Still bad, but not. It's easier to contain. Goddard, horrible. Fryermuth, ew. Like none of it's good. Kyle Pitts, not rosterable. That's hyperbolic. I'm half joking about that, but it's closer to the truth than you might want to believe. Like this is the issue with tight end right now. It's nobody wants tight end. This is why we go back to my original plan to abolish tight end as a position in all of fantasy, and then we're just going to float them. We're just going to fold that into wide receiver, and we'll just start, instead of having tight end, we'll just play another flex. And that's going to be the new standard in Neil's. When I come to power, that will be the new way that fantasy football works. Is you won't play tight end anymore, you won't play defense, and you won't play kicker. What you'll do is you'll play quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 3 flexes. That's how you play. And PPR is mandatory. Non-PPR is against the law. Sent to a work camp. That's how that works in Neil's new kingdom.
I'm dying over here, man.
I can tell. Whew. But Jason, am I wrong? Like, I don't know what you do with this. Like, it's like you're just kind of stuck. You probably are playing him. Polo? What? I know you're listening to me, Polo. What's your backup plan?
I'm hoarding it.
What's your other? Do you have another
somebody
tight end on
dropped
the
him.
roster?
So I have him, Andrews, and Goddard all on my roster right now because if they actually do get going, I want them all. So I'll be
I
able to
can't
trade them.
imagine that the Steelers will be this bad for the duration of the year. And this is the other thing
They've
I've
had a
been
tough
talking about.
run too. To start
Oh, I've been
off,
talking about this too. We're 2 weeks into the NFL. I feel like I have to bring this up every year. Ever since they changed the rules for the preseason and OTAs and minicamp and how that actually works on the new CBA, it takes the NFL about 4 weeks to actually figure out what it's doing. And it's just terrible football for the first 4 weeks. And there's a million injuries. There's a million injuries, which is we're right on schedule for that. And the NFL just in general is crap for about the first 4 weeks. And then by about week 5, you can start figuring out who people actually are. You have enough sample size to kind of. This is why I don't recommend making trades until week 4 or 5. You don't know enough. You don't have enough data. Your sample size is too small. It's corrupted. It's polluted. Especially because even in the best of times, you throw out week 1. Week 1 means virtually nothing because week 1 is essentially random mode. So it's a tough one, Polo. By the way, I'm right there with you in a league. I have Fryermouth in a league where we play with deep benches and contracts. And I extended Pat Fryermouth in the offseason because he wanted a very reasonable number. And now I'm looking at it like, well, that might have been a mistake. $10 million over 4-year mistake that I can't get out of because that's very reasonable, though, in that league. That's not a lot of money. But, you watch him put up a 1.7 last week, and I get the concern. I wish I could tell you it was just the chest and that he'll be fine moving forward. I don't know what the hell's going on. They threw it to Allen Robinson a million times in week 1, and then in week 2, he was non-existent. That whole team is a mess.
no idea what's going on. And I don't know if it's because
positive.
they didn't have Johnson, but I can't believe they got that confused off of a week.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. And it's not like the Browns defense is some sort of world beater because they're not. They're not that good. So it's a tough one, man. That's a really tough one. You're not the only one who's been asking about Pat Fryermouth in the background. I just so you know, it's not just Pat Fryermouth as I listed. It's like every tight end that's not Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews. It's like listed off. It's all bad. We'll do another Polo question. I would be trying to trade Mike Evans because I think right now you could get a massive haul for Mike Evans, given where he's at. I don't know that anybody could keep up the streak that he's on. Do I believe that he'll get to 1,000 yards again this year? You know I do, baby. Been saying it since the preseason. Notch another one on his belt. But I do believe at some point that he'll cool off a little bit. Defenses will have to readjust. And Chris Godwin's not dead, and neither is Rashad White. But
Yeah,
I would
I'm
actually
trading for White if you can. Granted, that
I'd be trying to trade for White if I could too. That's been as advertised. But I'd be probably looking to see if I could trade Mike Evans for something nice. We've had a lot of questions about this in the Discord, and the general consensus is if somebody is willing to give you something nice for Mike Evans, like we had a guy who was working on trying to trade Mike Evans and something else to get Jamar Chase, and I'm like, I'd be doing that. I'd absolutely be doing that because the Bengals is a little scary. I get that. So maybe if you don't want to do that, but something like that, I would be willing to do. For sure, I'd be willing to do that. What do you think, Jason? You gonna ride out the Mike Evans roller coaster, or do you want to?
No, I might be going for a twofer if I can. See if I can't get a decent running back and then up and coming wide receiver would be more my style with that.
Yeah, I mean you could try. If it depends on what your team is. It really does depend on what your team is. Like it's like, what do you need? Like, do you need a running back? Or do you need like wide receiver depth because you have good wide receivers in general, and Evans is like your 4th or 5th guy? So it kind of depends on that. But my general advice would be if I could get somebody to give me something like real if I could get somebody to pay what Mike Evans is worth currently just off his recent production, yeah, I'd probably take it.
Currently wide receiver 4.
Yeah, if I could get top 5 wide receiver value for Mike Evans, I'm taking it for whatever else I could get. Jason, it's bad when Polo's not even updating us on the Thursday night game in the background. It's really bad when we're not even getting the Polo set updates in the background. But here's Here's what we'll do in the meantime. Why don't you do your quarterback start of the week? Why don't you do that?
Well, it's a great segue. We just talked about Mike Evans, so my quarterback start of the week is.
It's almost like I have I
Yeah.
have notes over here,
I
and
know
it's
it's
almost like
crazy,
I could read. Almost.
but I'm going with Baker Mayfield versus the Eagles. That Eagles secondary has gotten real rough, real quick, and doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So with how successful Mike Evans has been, it's hard to get away from this week. He's actually been surprisingly very accurate in playing very good football as a quarterback, and so I'm absolutely pumped. Eagles have, I believe, given up the most points to quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, which is a little surprising. And then how about who are you sitting this week?
I'm surprised people have him ranked so high, but it's Justin Fields versus the Chiefs. And I don't know why he's ranked QB8, but I've seen that offense
You're not
try and
buying
win.
into reports they're going to cut him loose this week?
No, I don't trust them at all.
That's
I've been watching him play.
That's the right instinct. That's a good instinct. You should stick with that instinct. As a lifelong Bears fan, you should trust that instinct. It's a good instinct to follow. That's what I would do.
It's terrifying. If I thought he would actually rush and throw to weapons, or I mean, the fact that Chiefs defense has just been so good this year already, holding some very explosive offenses to so few points, and they've added Chris Jones and were able to hold the Jaguars to only 9 points and the Lions to only 21 points. That's insane. Like, these are offenses that are just so explosive. It's going to be hard to do that unless they just are absolutely having an off day. Justin Fields only has DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. Herbert looks rough. Johnson is getting a lot of usage, but again, you don't want to start that either. Chris Jones is on the opposite side. The Chiefs are, like I said, been playing very well. L'Jarius Sneed has been locking people down, as well as McDuffie as a slot guy. And it's just impossible, it seems, to throw on them. And they haven't looked good already, so why would I trust him now?
Yeah, they're not going to look good. That ship has sailed.
Well, and the fact that the Chiefs are 13-point favorites.
Yeah. Well, for me, it would be as a start. I'd probably be looking at Jordan Love as a spot start this week, largely because of the matchup against the Saints, because the Saints suck. And
except for against tight end.
Yeah, they are good at tight end, so probably don't play Luke Musgrave. But I think Jordan Love is a candidate to throw 2 touchdown passes this week. And that's really what you're looking for with a spot start streamer. And then as far as guys you're going to want to sit this week, I really wouldn't blame you if you just sat down Trevor Lawrence. I understand he has the matchup against Houston, and that's really what you'd be hanging your hat on. But my God,
well,
as somebody who rosters a lot of Lawrence and who actually watched a lot of that, watched like the vast majority of that game last week, I have words that I can't say on a PG-13 show for how I would describe their performance last week. So if you wanted to sit him down, and you wanted to play like a Jared Goff or a Geno Smith, or depending on who your backup was, I wouldn't even blame you, because you can't take a 9. You can't take a 9. A 9 from your quarterback means you lose. The rest of your team
barely.
Would be so
I barely
lost
last week with him, and it's because he had that touchdown where he stepped just out of bounds before he scored.
Yeah, so you gotta figure out, like, if you wanted to sit him down for a week and let him prove it to you, I wouldn't necessarily blame you. So that's the one where, and I'm not bitter at all. No one could accuse me of being bitter.
I'm still riding that stack though, man.
Back to Polo's question. His wide receivers: Evans, Higgins. I'm assuming Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Nico Collins, Puka, JSN. All right.
Oh, you need running back bad.
Bijan. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna.
You and Polo are the same person. What is this?
I know. Oh, I know. That's why we get along. Is because that's why we get along. Is because we have a lot of the same takes. But boy, yeah, you need a running back. So yeah, okay, let's play this game this way. Evans, Higgins, Wilson. So I would actually probably be trying to trade Garrett Wilson over Evans. He had 8 targets last week. You want to know how many of those were catchable? 3. So that's not great. But Garrett Wilson has already scored twice. The box scores, the point totals look good, but when you dig even a little bit deeper, you start realizing how fluky some of that is. And it's going to be like that all year. Speaking as a guy who had to roster and play Garrett Wilson all last year when Zach Wilson was his quarterback, and you were praying that Mike White was going to start just so somebody competent would be in there. Well, they've already told you it's Zach Wilson or nobody at this point. Unless something really changes, they're going to keep putting him out there because they got to justify the draft pick. So that's life. Your life is bad. And I feel bad for Garrett Wilson because he shouldn't have to deal with this. But I'd be trying to trade Garrett Wilson over Mike Evans at this point because I want all my shares.
You're looking at the haul, man. That's where your issue comes in. Evans, you might be able to get 2 people coming back that are solid.
I guess like you could probably get Garrett. It depends what you want to try. Who do you want to try and target? I need to know more about his league.
Yeah,
trading for running back is really
Etienne.
hard, as we already talked. Oh Jesus, really?
What? You just complained about Trevor Lawrence. Might as well go for his running back,
who also got murdered and also has been way overvalued all off season.
Yeah, so now his value's down. Buy it cheap.
That's not cheap. That's
his usage is great.
That's just throwing money away.
But again, right now, let's see. He is ranked 16 on the year. Or Joe Mixon's 21.
Yeah, like I was actually going to recommend
Devontae Williams.
I was actually going to recommend Joe Mixon. Mixon's more real to me. That's where I'm at. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes. It's real thin out there.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's really hard right now to do that. So,
Jonathan Taylor.
That's not the worst idea I've heard.
Those are the people I am currently targeting Taylor and Kamara as often as I can because I think those offenses are.
You might be able to get Ramondre. You could probably do Ramondre for Evans straight up at this point, depending on what the teams have. It's hard to do this when you don't know what the other teams look like in your league, right? Because what you're going to need to... Okay, Polo, I'll answer your question this way. We all agree you need a running back. Here's what I would have you do.
Or Puka. Puka also has a lot of value right now, too.
Yes, Puka has a lot of value. You have wide receivers that have value. You need a running back. What I would do is I would go through every team in my league and figure out who is screwed at wide receiver and look at their running backs and start figuring it out that way. Because that's where you're going to have the most success negotiating with people. Because you're going to have something they need, and they're going to have something that somebody in your league, I guarantee you, is sitting on multiple running backs and probably is thin at wide receiver. More than likely, that's the case. And that's usually the easiest way to get trades done. Because you want to give them, you want to put hand in glove. You know what I mean? You're offering them something they need. And then also, by the way, when you talk to that person, if it's at all possible to message them, or if you know them, you just text them and just say, hey, I got wide receivers on my team. I need a running back. Usually they'll tell you very overtly what they want. Like more than likely someone will come back and say, I want Puka. Because people typically remember the thing they just saw. So that's usually how people are. They remember what they just got done seeing. That's the way it works. So they'll probably come back and say, I want Puka. Give me Puka. It's like, all right, well, what do you think? And then you can kind of start the negotiating process from there. And then see what their relative running backs are. And then we can kind of help you figure out, like, okay, what do we think a good deal is? But it's hard to do this without knowing the other pieces of information. Like I could tell you as a general philosophy, though, looking at your team, I would 100% be trying to trade a wide receiver for some kind of running back. And if I was going to have to take a downgrade at running back, then I want a running back and a lesser wide receiver back from you, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I'll leave. And if you've got other stuff, Polo, just keep putting it in the chat. I'll keep putting it up here, man. Because this game is horrible. It's horrible. We should have more
3-3.
It's horrible. End of the first quarter, it's 3-3. Horrible. Here we go. Skylar, welcome back, Skylar. Pick 2 full PPR. Addison, Davis, Swift, McLaurin, Tankdell. Well, you got a lot of the same player.
Yeah, they're all this. It's Swift if Gainwell is out, which I still am iffy on. I kind of think that Gainwell's going to play. But after that, it's Dell. Oh, man. Who do they play? That's the next thing. Who does the Commanders play? Oh, I'm still probably gonna roll out McLaurin. It's close with Addison, but
for
again,
me, it would be Swift and McLaurin if I knew Kenny Gainwell wasn't going to play. If I find out Kenny Gainwell is playing, it's Addison and McLaurin.
just hate Dell. Okay.
No, I hate you. I don't really hate Tank Dell. Tank Dell seems like a nice person. No, it's like Tank Dell. I mean, playing Jacksonville, like it's Tank Dell coming off a 10 target game. I get it. He's got a 20 last week, and I go back to people remembering the thing they just saw and not
well,
thinking
he went from 5 to 10. So
yeah, but
that's the other thing that I'm seeing.
In my flex rankings, I have Addison and McLaurin higher. I feel better about those two things because it's not just one good week. I'm dealing with body of work. You know what I mean? Like McLaurin overcame a bad matchup last week and has actually been pretty serviceable. You know what I mean? Like he's been good. I understand he didn't have 10 targets, but you know, he's been good consistently. And then Addison is kind of the same thing. He's getting a lot of targets and he's also getting deep shots. He's getting a lot of work in general. He's as advertised for what we thought. So
Osborne is still out snapping him though.
I don't care.
Just letting you know.
Yeah, it's
fun fact for you.
Yeah, okay. He's out snapping him. Is he out targeting him? No. Is he a better player? No. Targets
are actually is close.
Is KJ Osborne going to be cut at week 13? Probably. That's kind of where we're at here. Like, is KJ Osborne going to be playing for Houston next year? Almost certainly. That's kind of the way that's shaping up in the background there. So you're going to play. You're really going to play Tank Dell, huh?
I am.
All right.
Just because, again, the fact that I like Addison, but
you're due at Quest Diagnostics tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock for your piss test.
It's a wide receiver 3. That's the issue. If he was definitely in the if he was in 2 wide receiver sets, I'd be over Addison for sure because that's the highest over under game.
Make sure to drink plenty of water. All right, Skylar. Another question from Skylar here. Mike Thomas, Breece Hall, Tank Dell, got a lot of Tank Dell shares. Zay Flowers, Garrett Wilson, pick 2. Oh, this is wolf.
Skylar clearly watches the waiver wire show. So
yeah, I can tell.
Probably Flowers for sure. And then it's a toss up.
Boy, this is a harder one than your other question. I'm gonna play. It's Zay Flowers is like
for sure.
That's happening.
It's close between Thomas and Wilson here.
I'm going to go Wilson and Flowers is what I would do. I'm going to hold my nose and put Garrett Wilson out there and just hope like hell he catches something. Like that's in an ugly game with ugly quarterback play.
Nope. I think I'm going to go Flowers and Thomas here, actually.
All right. There's no way I could bring myself to bench.
Jair should be on Olave. So.
Yeah. Now I got to keep riding with Wilson. I know it's ugly as hell. Maybe try to trade Garrett Wilson between now and Sunday. Actually, it might not be the worst idea in the world, Skylar. Chris, get out of here. Get out of here. He showed up on Tuesday to do this too. Get out of here, Chris. Get out of here. The 3 people that get that joke that watched this last week when he recommended sitting Tyreek Hill, and I also threatened to drug test him. And now he's taking his victory lap on wide receiver 29.
That is still a flex.
Technically speaking, it is.
I'm just saying.
Oh, my God. All right, Polo's back doing his job. He's back doing his job. The 49ers are in the red zone. Thank you, Polo. I appreciate it. I appreciate the assistance here.
Debo's finally catching targets. Sweet. And a Ross Dwell fighting.
Do what now? A who?
Ross Dwelly, the other tight end.
Oh. Keep
Elijah
those.
Misha with 3 touches for 1 yard. Positive.
Yeah. CMC's got the big workload here. Yeah, Debo did nothing in the first quarter, but a little better.
Yeah, he was like 0 for
Kittle, 1 for
5.
15. That seems like Kittle's new life. I was hoping for a little better with Ayuk getting rostered or sitting this week, but we'll see how that winds up.
Gary
yeah,
Brightwell.
We'll see. Gary Brightwell looks god awful. Matt Breida looks god awful. Wandale, 2 for 15. There it is. Put it in my veins.
Yeah, but Brightwell, 1 for 18. I'm just saying.
Saying what?
That's 1 for.
Did he caught a target and got incredibly lucky?
Yeah, that's a long one. 18 yards.
Yeah.
Longest catch for his team, and it's not close.
That says infinitely more about the Giants than it does about Gary Brightwell. Wow, Puka for Wilson.
Wow.
I'd have called you a crazy man very recently. And now it's like, yeah, well, kind of get it. By the way, this is it's actually going up. Our viewership is going up. That's how bad this show is, Jason. that's how bad this game is, Jason. It's so bad that our numbers are actually increasing because people are turning the game off and flipping over to watch us.
Ronnie Bell.
No one knows. No one has any idea. Like, yeah, no one knows who Ronnie Bell is.
7th round pick for the 49ers gets the touchdown.
Yeah, no one knows who that is.
Ruining everybody's night. Lovely.
Yeah, it's just some guy. It's just a dude.
Ridiculous.
Nobody. Only Polo knows. Only Polo knows who Ronnie Bell is. Clearly, like there's one man, and now it makes sense. He went to Michigan. Okay, now I understand. Now I understand. All right, we'll go back to Skyler.
I was like, clearly not an AAC guy because I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, not a MAC guy either.
Or USC. That's the other two. Yeah.
Pick 3, half point. Nope. Javonte, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Garrett. Oof, boy, that is a toughie.
Evans for sure, Cooper for sure. And then it gets tough. Because we don't know on Joe Burrow. I think that Belichick's going to try and make them run the ball and take away Wilson. So it's close between Higgins and Javonte for me. It's half. So I'm going to go with Javonte and hope for the best. So Javonte, Cooper, Evans. I'm going with your first 3.
Yeah. I don't. Boy. Yeah, hang on. I know I'm thinking too much. Yeah, okay. It's going to be. I'm going to make the assumption that Joe Burrow is playing to answer this question. So you'll know in advance of it. So it doesn't matter. It would be Cooper, Evans, Higgins. If you get news on no Burrow, you scratch Higgins, and then I would probably play. It's really close between Wilson or Williams. It's half point, probably Williams. Yeah, probably that. Which you. Yeah, there you go. That's what it is. Yep. No Breece Hall until I see something that isn't suck.
Or volume. He needs volume. Let's see what
No,
he
it's
needs.
it's a combo of suck and volume, and
He had a tough matchup last week. We knew that was coming up.
I mean, he still got outsnapped by Dalvin Cook. He
It's
like
still coming off an
he
ACL.
I don't care. Dalvin Cook looks terrible. That whole team looks terrible. And I don't know in what universe they're going to actually be able to run the ball effectively when they're down by 35 points in every game because they're just getting pantsed. Because Zach Wilson goes out and throws a 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and the defense is on the and the defense is oh my god.
Nice.
Someone from the FLA app left the FLA app? Do they know? Does the 4for4 know that someone actually left their app and actually like consumes other media?
Don't let him
Holy
know.
cow!
Don't let him know.
Don't tell them.
Thank you so much for coming.
They'll ban you. All right, Tiger. Ask away, buddy. We got plenty of time to answer questions here. I think that's a typo, but I had to post. I'm gonna assume that's a typo. But it's probably it actually might not be.
It might just miss a comma.
Yeah. When will the Jets look in? The answer to that is never.
When he gets hurt. That's
yeah. When Zach Wilson gets pile drived into the ground, and then they have no choice. But they're talking about bringing in other people. But we've all known this was a possibility from day one that Rodgers can't run worth a darn, and their O-line is terrible. So, and then he got killed because of it. But yeah, Zach Wilson, I love Zach Wilson. I've got to be better, and I'm like, it just reminds me of Sam Darnold talking about seeing ghosts. Hopefully this week. All right. I normally don't condone wishing that people get hurt, but I do have a lot of Garrett Wilson shares, and this is freaking killing me. So I can't say I don't understand, Skylar. I do understand. Like, I don't necessarily agree, but I do understand. Like, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Like, but yeah, I don't know, man. They need to bring somebody in, but they've made it clear it's going to be Wilson's job until he gets something. I'm going to assume that Skylar is not threatening to murder Zach Wilson. Yeah, it does. No, it hurts. It does not feel good.
It's because it's the same game. It's reversing the Patriots, and that's when he saw the ghost. Right? Isn't that what I remember? That is how that worked, right? Isn't that
I don't remember. My memory's not that good, unfortunately. All right, Tiger, we got to answer a Tiger question because he came all the way here from the FLA app. He managed to. I was gonna make a Logan's Run joke, but nobody under the age of 40 has seen Logan's Run, so that would have just been pointless. Trade away James Cook and Addison for Breece Hall and Ayuk.
Yeah.
Whoa, I might do that.
It's close, man. It really depends on what your running backs look like.
Yeah, I'm going to stay the course with my James Cook. It's 4 players I love. He's got 4 of my favorite players in this deal. It's really interesting. What scares me is Ayuk with the double shoulder injury, and I love Ayuk. I'm very high on him for this year. He's stacked at RB. Okay. Well, you are in the catbird seat, my friend. I see why you're trying to trade away James Cook because you want to get him at the height of the value. You think you don't need him anymore. I think you could do better.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think you could do better.
I think want a more consistent wide receiver.
If you're shopping James Cook, so here's his Bijan, Jamar Chase. Okay.
Gibbs.
Yeah. I almost said Jamar Chase. I know what I did there. Bijan, Gibbs, Swift, Roshan with Cook. If you were going to try and trade Cook off there, that's actually not the one I'd be trying to trade. But I get why you'd be trying to trade him because that's the one that you could probably get the biggest haul for. I think you could do better. Cook is a RB1 right now in a league where there are no RB1s. They're all hurt. They're all injured already. So I think you could do better. I think you're not punching high enough up. I think you could probably get
going with it though.
If you want a wide receiver, I think you could go higher. Like
Ridley?
I was actually going to say I think you could get Calvin Ridley. I think you could get something of that caliber.
Because he just had that bad game. Mm,
Maybe, or he could be a dog all year because he's on a team that now can't do anything.
That is the worry.
Potentially. I think Puka would be in the conversation. So I think you could probably get Puka if that was what you were interested in, but keep in mind Cooper Kupp will be back at some point. So I don't know that I really want to go there. You could buy in on Jamar Chase because they're not going to be that bad all year. Eventually, his calf will heal and they'll get a little bit better.
Still prefer the other side though.
Sure. I think I could probably parlay it into Amon Ra. I am in the short term, but if you're looking for a long term thing, which is what I would be wanting for Cook, because what's the drop off for Cook coming? There isn't one. So I'd probably be looking for something like, if I'm assuming PPR, Amon Ra St. Brown. I bet I could get that.
Yeah, but what you need to have an R. Okay. You need it. I was like, you need an RB coming back though, based on who he has.
It would help, but if you were going to do that, then you'd have to find a team that would have a combo platter that you'd be willing to deal with. Like, that's why I get the Breece Hall thing, because you're taking a downgrade to do an upgrade. You're going to downgrade from Cook to get to do it that way. Like, if that's the way you want to do it, then okay, fine. But I think I'd rather have I'd rather still have your side of that deal.
Yeah.
I'd rather live with Addison, because in theory Addison's only going to get better because he's still really young, and I don't know what Breece Hall is anymore. Well, I do. He's really talented, but his team is terrible.
Yeah.
And he still has to share that job with Dalvin Cook, even though I think that's wrong. I wouldn't have if I was running the Jets. We wouldn't have Dalvin Cook on the team. He would be playing somewhere else.
Quarterback.
We'd have a different quarterback. And like, if I was running the Jets, that team would work differently. But I don't run the Jets. Maybe one day.
All right. So
ain't that the truth? ain't that the truth?
The thing I'd be looking at, because I think there's a lot of upside with it, is either Javonte Williams or Josh Jacobs are the two running backs that I'd be targeting with Cook, plus upgrading at wide receiver.
If people are panicking, sure.
That's what I'm aiming for, because I do think people are. You've had two okay games in PPR for Jacobs with a 9.1 and 9.9. And then Javonte has a 9.7 and 7.8.
Yeah. And I don't really like the idea of trading Addison for Ayuk as much as I love Ayuk. In a world where Ayuk doesn't have two shoulder injuries, I'm great with this idea. But now with the double shoulder injury Ayuk, I'm not as enthused about this as I would have been 2 weeks ago. And it has nothing to do with Ayuk's talent. It has everything to do with the fact that if he's going to be playing this year with two messed up shoulders, I don't want to deal with that when Addison is still fully healthy. So yeah, if you want to go that route, I would throw one more name in there, which would be Ramondre. I think the rumors of Ramondre's death are greatly exaggerated. He has not been perfect, but he's still coming off a 9 and a 12.
And he's versus some tough front with
Eagles
and Dolphins.
Poor matchups that will get a little easier. Devonta Smith and Breece Hall, better.
I still just can't. Again, too many mouths to feed. I want somebody that is the guy.
Yeah, because the issue with Devonta Smith is going to be the same issue from last year, where it's not consistent. He's going to have some huge weeks where he blows it up and you probably win those games, but he's going to have some other weeks where they're going to be throwing it to Brown and Goddard and spreading the love around.
I know, but there's, again, after Calvin Ridley, there's not a whole lot that are just like.
I know, that's where, and then you got to deal with the freaking Jacksonville, which isn't fun. Am I crazy to trade Stevenson for Brian Robinson? Boy, people love Brian Robinson. To have two good games and watch how people change their tune on you.
Well, I mean, he's also clearly the guy. I mean, Gibson has been very relegated based on usage. Still, 2 games. It's
overreacting for 2 games is what I'm talking about. I just got done explaining why I don't want to overreact to 2 games. Because you do that, and then somebody goes, "Oh, my hamstring," and then they're out for 6 weeks, and then you look like a moron. I don't like trading for things this early in the season that I don't feel like I have to. You're welcome, Tiger. Come back anytime, buddy. We're here every Thursday. We're here on Sundays. We're here on Tuesdays. We're here on Mondays. We're here all the time. Are you crazy? No. Is it a move I would make? Also, no. Does that help? Like,
standard,
not
maybe.
Yet. In standard, maybe. I might actually do that in standard.
I had to throw that caveat in there.
Do I think you're crazy for having this conversation? No. Is it a move I personally would do? No. Do I think anybody would actually do it, Skylar? By the way, also no. I think if you offered that deal, Ramondre for Robinson straight up right now, I don't think anybody would take you up on it. Just being honest. Yeah, we're here all week. Tip your waitresses. Tip Jason. He needs tips. Jason works for tips. But yeah, that's kind of the issue, Scott. I don't know that anybody would. Jason, do you think anybody would even take that deal? If I came to you and said, I'll offer
maybe
you
on name
Ramondre
value. I mean, that's what you're looking at is all offseason you heard about how good Stevenson's going to be, how he's going to be this top back, and you're getting him for Robinson, who wasn't really talked about all offseason.
Yeah.
It's very tempting, especially only 2 weeks in where you're seeing all of it.
Oh, so this is a deal you've already done. Oh, I see. You're looking for post de facto validation. It's not a move I would have made, but I wouldn't call you crazy for doing it. Certainly wouldn't call you crazy given what we've seen the first 2 weeks. I am somewhat concerned that the rumors of Ramondre's death are greatly exaggerated here, but at the same time, I can't call you crazy. I do understand the logic. He is getting a lot of touches. That is irrefutable. All right, back to Storian Eagle here. Looking for an RB3 because here's my RB room. I got CMC and Connor, right? You would be. Benches Zach Moss, Kareem Hunt, Jeff. Okay, so you have no bench. I see. I see the issue.
Wilson's there. He's going to be back in 2 weeks. Be fine.
You have no bench. You have no bench as we talk here today. Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Got to disagree with you here, Skylar. I kind of need Gibson in one. It's funny. I have shares of both, buddy. So it's kind of hard for me to like really get one way or the other. You know what I mean? I have a couple leagues where I just have the Robinson, and I'm loving that, and then I have a few where I have Gibson, and it's like, ooh, don't feel good about that anymore. Let's see here. I see. Man, so you're looking for an RB3 for Goddard is kind of where we're coming back to here.
All right, let's see. RB3s that we're looking at.
Boy, RB3 is ugly.
Javonte Williams.
That's not RB3. That's not RB3.
Currently RB34. I'm just bringing.
What? Where are you reading that?
Fantasy Pros. Through the first 2 weeks, he is RB34.
Oh.
I'm going based off by actual what's going on right now.
You're going by point totals and not, which is
what
wrong.
has currently been showing up on paper.
which is wrong, but okay. But if you go by ranking, which is more relevant, like he's an RB2 because of all the stupid injuries that have been happening in the background. Got
nothing, man.
It's all crap.
Your best bet might be to try and get Warren, but even that is kind of unlikely.
I would try to trade for Aaron Jones and hope that he sits out again. I hope that he's not actually playing this week. I'd float that offer. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, you have Zach Moss. Maybe you float that to the Taylor owner and see what he has.
Manager, please. It's 2023.
Yeah.
I would consider, because realistically, you're talking about things like Brees Hall, Damian Pierce,
Ugh.
Tyler Algier, Jalen Warren, uh, AJ Dillon, no, gross. Khalil Herbert, Gus Edwards, Roshan. I don't like a lot of this.
Gainwell?
Maybe.
I'm just again.
Maybe I
that-
would do Gainwell.
I mean, you might be able to get it done. Potentially he missed last week. Unsure if he's going to play this week. Might be able to float that through.
I don't know that I would do it though. I think what I would try to do is see if I could take like Goddard and something else, like staple it to it, and see if I could get like Miles Sanders. Because that I would at least feel like I would feel okay starting that at some point, even though he had a bad week.
Wish they would throw him the ball. That's the
Yeah,
one
they
area
don't
that Bryce
seem
Young
like
is
they-
hurting me.
They
Now,
don't seem like they want to do that.
That's why I'm hoping this week. Andy Dalton, please dump it off somewhat.
The dream would be to take Goddard and something else and staple it to try and get Rashad White. That's the dream.
But that last
That's
week
the
hurts you.
dream. That's the dream that I live in. Is I want to do that. Also possibly James Cook would also be the dream. Take Goddard and something else and staple it together to try and get James Cook. That's what I would want to do. Because if you're that beat up at running back, I got to imagine that you can get some kind of.
Or Stevenson? I mean, you already talked about Cook.
Yeah, Ramondre would be fine too. I'd be fine with doing that for Ramondre. Like that's what I would do. Is those types of deals? As I really don't want to try and do a Goddard for a RB3 straight up. You know what I mean? I hate all the names when you're that far down the list. The one that I would be most interested in would be Goddard for Brees Hall. But I don't know what that is anymore. And I doubt that you're going to feel good starting Brees Hall at any point during the buys when you might have to. I'll tell you the other one that you might want to do. Okay, that would be possible, but do you want that headache? Think about that. Do you want to live with that headache? If you're willing to live with the headache, then I could see it being doable from an actual, could I get that trade across the system? But you're going to have to be willing to live that life in the background. Because you're going to have to just deal now with the Jalen Warren shit. Like, that's just going to be part of your day. Not going to be pretty. So if
you're
you
also really hope. Well, let's the other thing is their schedule has been tough.
It has
because he's getting hit so quickly. If he doesn't look good after this game, I would be worried.
Yeah. The other one that I would consider would be, and this might actually be somewhat achievable. We just got done talking about Brian Robinson. I would do that too. I would take Goddard and something and try and staple it together for Brian Robinson. I'm looking for things that I might actually want to play as my third RB. I get that you're good with Connor. Harris would be interesting, but I've had a lot of people ask, like, do we think Najee Harris is a buy low? And it's like, not really. I'm kind of just terrified of it. He's not really a buy low at this point. He's kind of just terrifying. I do think Javonte Williams would be interesting, by the way, as well. But I don't really necessarily believe in the Broncos offense, just generally speaking, in the background. But that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of this. I don't want Pacheco. You already have Zach Moss. I don't think you could get Jerome Ford for Goddard, to be honest with you. I just don't think you could. I don't think anybody would do it. No one of sense, at least. And then you get guys like Brees Hall, Damian Pierce, Tyler Algier, Jalen Warren, AJ Dillon. Is any of that really an upgrade for you over Goddard? Not really. It's not really helping you. Like it's not super helpful, especially considering the idea that you have Zach Moss right now, you have Jeff Wilson coming back, and then you have Kareem Hunt for whatever that's worth. So, which we don't know what that's worth at the moment. So, but there's some decent names in there. I think you could probably. Here's another way I'll put this to you. Similar to the other trade questions we've been getting all night. Go to your league. Who is screwed at tight end? Who has nothing? Whose tight ends are just irredeemably terrible? I guarantee you they exist in your league. There's probably 4 of them because tight end is a
Who
total
has
poop
Freiermuth?
show. Yeah, who has a bunch of the tight ends that have been really underperforming? What does their running back room look like? And do they also maybe need a wide receiver? So you could staple Goddard and a wide receiver 3 to them and see if you could snake a decent running back off their team. That's kind of where I'm at here in the background. But I would avoid the Najee Harris experience if I could. It's not a fun experience. It's not the Jimi Hendrix experience. I'll tell you that right now. But I can understand not wanting to overcommit because you have 2 good running backs. I will say the one thing I'm mildly concerned about is somebody who has a lot of Connor shares. If he does get beat up, like he sometimes has a tendency to do, given what his workload actually is, boy, you have no good backup plan. And that's why I also think Aaron Jones would be interesting because at some point Aaron Jones will be back, and that would actually really help you. And right now you can get Aaron Jones for a discount because he's currently got the hamstring injury. I think he might actually play this week too. So you might want to
Try
if you're going to look into that, there's a short shelf life on it. Tiger, this is another. We got some excellent questions here tonight about how our website works. 6 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 7 o'clock Central Time, which is 8 o'clock Eastern Time. That is how that works.
5 o'clock Pacific Time.
Yeah,
Pacific.
That is it is
Time right now.
it is very consistent for this reason. So we are very consistent. We usually go at the same time
for at least Thursday. Sunday is 11 a.m. Central, 10 Mountain, noon Eastern. And then Monday is 6:30 Central for the waiver wire show. And Tuesday you guys start. Is that live normally?
Yeah.
And that's
6 p.m.
at 6 Central or Mountain.
Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 Central.
Okay. So
yeah, that's
quite a bit of shows, just depending on what you're looking for. The Guillotine show's on Tuesday. This is every Thursday. Tomorrow is our Locked In show, which is betting stuff. And then
which is our sports betting show. We have a show just about every day, honestly.
The only one we don't is Wednesday. Wednesday and Saturdays. I guess we're off.
Yeah, Wednesdays and Saturdays we're usually off, but every other day we pretty much have a show, and they're all on at about the same time, except for Sunday, which is 10 a.m. my time, Mountain Time, 11 Central. Beyond that, let's see here. No, it's a separate thing. So we have a $3 tier and a $5 tier. So you could do the $3 tier or the $5 tier, bud, and then it's a separate service entirely. So once you get Discord access at either the $3 or $5 tier, we could explain the rest to you. But you don't necessarily need to sign up for the $5 tier. You can get it with a $3 tier if that's what you prefer to do. But we won't do it for the $1 tier, which doesn't even technically exist anymore. Hey, Jason, this game is a disaster, and I hate it. But it's about to be halftime.
Oh, they scored again?
Yeah, this game is over. Christian McCaffrey, so that'll help people. But other than that, yeah, George Kittle doing nothing. CMC's having a nice night. Deebo Samuel's got a 7 in the first half, which is kind of annoying because
considering how many targets he has.
Yeah, and there's also a real chance that he might just be done in the second half because this game is going to be over. What do the Giants have in total yards at this point? I think it's like
68.
53. Ooh. Looking good. Tell you what, let's rattle through these here because we're gonna wrap up here relatively soon. Who's your RB start of the week?
Gus Edwards versus the Colts.
Gross.
I know. I had to do it though because of the fact that I don't think Justice Hill's going to play. They brought in Kenyon Drake. Makes me very nervous. He's going to be the only RB. Means he's going to get fed. Absolutely love it. So it's a good matchup for him, and I think that's an area that they can exploit. So
for me, it's Jaylen Warren. For all the reasons we just said about Jaylen Warren killing Najee Harris. Welcome to the team, bud. Welcome to the team. You'll be Steve. Our guy Steve will get in touch with you very shortly to help you get set up on the Discord and get you added and everything like that, and then we'll start figuring out the rest of it from there. What was I saying? Jalen Warren.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren is taking the sandwich right off Najee Harris's plate, and if Najee has one more bad week in a row, it's time to officially start panicking.
Because it is the Raiders.
In my opinion, and that's the reason why I'm saying Jalen Warren, because it's the Raiders, and the Raiders couldn't stop anybody ever at any point for any reason at any time. That defense is a train wreck, and it makes me smile because I hate McDaniels, and I want to see him fail because it makes me laugh. And I'm not bitter whatsoever about what he's done to two of my favorite franchises. Laporta or Goddard, go.
Laporta. I'm not trusting Goddard, man. I can't bring myself to do it.
You're very welcome. We're happy to help out, bud. We're here, as you've heard, we're here all the time. We're here all day, every day. All right, we got Skylar's question. All right, we did starts. What are sits?
Ramondre Stevenson versus the Jets. I can't bring myself to do it, man. I think that's going to be one of the lowest.
It's hard because running back is so you can't who there's no name on here that you want to sit. It's exactly. Such a disaster.
That's the closest I could get, and it's because he's looked rough. It's a tough defense that they're going up against, especially against the run.
If the Jets have a strength on defense, it's their front seven. I get that. I'm cheating. It's Derrick Henry. Ha ha. Moving on. Wide receiver. Wide receiver. Who are you starting?
I went way down the list because I brought it up earlier. I'm going with DJ Shark because I do think that Bryce Young's out. Yeah, had to do it. Bryce Young's out. Andy Dalton's going to be at the helm. Means they're going to throw a lot more. It's against a good defense or good defense for the wide receiver in the Seahawks. Should be pretty awesome to go. And I just think he's going to feast. It's either him or Thielen. I'm going with the upside of Shark. So,
yeah, I don't want to start anybody that's on a team that Andy Dalton has anything to do with. Really,
got to play catch up, man. Got to play catch up.
Really ugly. For me, it's Rashid Shaheed because I'm going to keep talking about it until people start rostering him, baby. All the man does is show up and produce. It's fantastic, and he's got cartoon level speed. Had another nice week last week. It's Rashid Shaheed is going to be this year's Donovan Peoples-Jones for me. That I'm just going to keep bringing it up until people start rostering him, and then I can't play this game anymore. Who's your sit?
Jamar Chase versus the Rams.
That's cheating as well, but I can't say I necessarily.
He is currently wide receiver 7.
Can't say I necessarily disagree. It's cheating, but I can't say I don't understand. So much cheating was involved.
People are going to start him. I can't bring myself to do it. He's had too many rough weeks. Joe Burrow doesn't look right. That offense doesn't look right. And it's the Rams who should be able to put up points. But, man, I am just nervous about it. I think that the targets are going to go to Higgins because it's kind of the way it's been looking. And Joe Burrow looks bad. So
for me, it's Jalen Waddle because I'm not even convinced he's going to play. And even if he did, and even if he does play, I want no part of it because he hasn't practiced all week and he's been in the concussion protocol. And if he has one little problem during that game, he's going to be done for the day immediately because the league's not going to let it happen because it's the Dolphins. They learned their lesson with Tua, I hope. And then also the Dolphins won't let it happen because they're trying to go to the playoffs and they need Waddle for the season and for the playoffs, not for some rando week 3 game that they can probably win without him. You know what I mean?
Well, and I'm also kind of surprised that they just haven't mandated that a full week at least for concussion protocol.
They would, but money.
It kind of looks like it. Yeah, it kind of looks like
it. They should, but money.
I'm curious about Anthony Richardson is the big one that I'm.
Yeah, I'm not actually convinced he's going to play. I think
I'm not either.
I think it's going to be Minshew mania.
But I am nervous about it because you don't know.
We don't. We won't until probably Saturday. Hurts and Smith already. I can't necessarily it. I have them right next to each other in my rankings. Literally 6 and 7. So just flip a coin. And if you wanted to play Laporta because you already have way too many Eagles, you already have too many Eagles.
RSB with turf toe, Reynolds with the groin. I mean,
bringing that up you think it's going to matter. It's really funny to me.
I know. It's just it's going to be a little bit of a drop off. That's all. In production.
I don't think it's
targets are still going to be there, but
I don't think it's going to make one damn little bit of difference whatsoever.
Also, Laporta saying 5 targets each game has been.
I would do it. I would do it literally because I don't want to play 3 Eagles. That would literally be the split for me. I don't want to play 3 Eagles ever. I don't like playing 3 players from the same team ever. I just don't. You got too many eggs in one basket, so I'd probably lean Laporta there. No, I wouldn't do that. I would not do that.
Maybe in standard.
In standard, I might have a different conversation for you, but I'm going to assume PPR. I would play Addison.
Yeah,
That's what
Addison just has more upside, and Harris
Addison has more upside, and it only takes one. Addison only takes one. He just needs to get, as we saw last week, he just needs to get behind the defense one time, and he's gone. And that's all it is.
It's a high-scoring game, guys. That's the big side of that.
That game is going to be a very high-scoring game. Sit rep. The Giants suck. Okay, you're all caught up. The Giants suck, and I know Steve is probably lingering in the background here listening to this. I'm surprised he's not actually like dunking on people in the Discord or in the chat, because that's one of his takes from all offseason is the Giants are overrated and the Giants suck. Boy, the Giants suck.
Wandale and Paris Campbell,
so
both.
Ugly.
Well, Paris Campbell has 4 targets, 4 receptions, 15 yards.
Coming off a dreadful week. I'm more just interested in Wandale, as you know.
2 for 2.
Big Wandale. As you know, I'm a big Wandale fan. Big Wandale fan.
I hate you.
Because of the league we play together in, where I just kept bidding him up.
I hate you so much.
Yes, I did do that. So story time. Jason and I play in a league together where it's an auction league, and I just kept bidding up Wandale Robinson because I had the money to do it. I just sat there and kept bidding him up because I had all the money and I had the contracts. So I gave Wandale Robinson a 3-year contract for probably way too much money, but I knew it would annoy him. So I kept doing it by the minimum bid. So I just kept sitting there resetting the auction until I finally frustrated him, and then he went and did something else. And I was drinking while I was doing this, full disclosure. So I was just cackling, laughing, just sitting there on my computer, like, keep going, like just crack another beer, just keep doing it. So yeah, I have Wandale in a couple different leagues, and that's one of them. And I knew I was going to annoy you with that whole thing. Holy crap, PA's here. Oh my God, PA's coming in hot. Talk to PA.
Oh. I mean, this week's probably not that bad of an idea. It depends on who your other wide receiver is.
Absolutely, playing Alexander Madison.
This is the one week I think you can get away with it.
I would not. I'm not doing that.
I wish I'd
probably. There's got to be. I'd have to know what else you have, but boy, that is. Jeez, man.
The Gahanas on you, my friend.
Like, how do you walk around? Like, do you need like a wheelbarrow? Like, how do you actually like? Oh how do you buy pants? Like, that's got to be a nightmare. Like, holy cow, that's Jesus. Holy cow, Jason, who's your tight end start of the week?
So I definitely.
He can't say Laporta again, so I don't.
I definitely cheated here. Going Taysom Hill versus the Packers.
That's actually not cheating. That's just starting. I brought that up on Tuesday. That's just starting a running back at tight end.
Correct. But the fact that Jamal Williams is out, Tony Jones Jr. is not what you want.
Yeah, given how Jamal Williams has been playing, even when he's been in, he's been out.
Yeah, Kendra Miller has been, and so the fact that Taysom Hill is going to get some running back usage here, you saw it towards the end of the game when with Williams out, how much usage he was getting. I would expect that to happen again, especially against the Packers.
So. No, I was talking about this on Tuesday. He's listed as a tight end in most leagues. Most platforms have him as a tight end. So you can start a running back this week at tight end. So you might as well. It's what I was telling people to do on Tuesday. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it that way. Fun fact, he was also my start of the week. Because it's cheating. But it's legal cheating.
If you're able to do it, might as well.
If you're able to do it, I would absolutely be doing it because it's cheating. It's absolutely cheating, and I don't care. If you can't do that because he's not listed as a tight end in your league, and I actually have to pick a real tight end, it's Jake Ferguson because we talked about he leads the league in end zone targets, and that's not science. It's not science.
If he is gone, you could probably. I'm going to get real ugly here and dirty here. Kylan Grayson.
Boy, that is really ugly and really dirty, and you're gonna have to go take a shower after this.
But he's been serviceable, and it'll be interesting to see with Minshew likely running the show, how that goes for him.
And then sit of the week.
David Njoku, because dude has not shown up. And until he does, I am sitting him.
Yeah. What's funny is this is the opposite of running back, where it's hard to find a guy because they're all so beat up that if anybody's healthy, you're just going to play them because God help you. I'm still reeling about PA talking about starting 4 Vikings, and I keep seeing it out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, I mean he's got to get like special order pants. Like there's no way that he can just buy pants off the rack, right? Like he's got to have like a tailor. Like there's no way. You got to get like special underwear too. It's got to be really expensive being PA. Like that's got to be nuts. Get it? Nuts. You get it? Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Please sign off on that. Oh my lord.
And until next week, keep up the nonsense. My sit of the week would be Kyle Pitts because it's gonna be Kyle Pitts until further notice. It's just gonna be Kyle Pitts every week until I see him do something. So yeah, Jason, as you chopping up the show, all of this was a waste of time except for that nuts joke. Totally useless information. None of it mattered. Yeah. I'm glad Polo's here. Polo's the only one who thinks I'm funny. Yeah. But that's going to be it, guys. We're at halftime in the Thursday night game, such as that is a game. It's 17-6. Boy, oh boy, is that ugly. I don't know that it's going to get better in the second half.
Hey, Waller actually saw targets, though.
I know.
That's
Matt Breida, 3 carries for 9 yards is something. Gary Brightwell with his 1 catch for 18-yard fluke that you're talking about is still leading the team in receiving yards. That is
something.
That is special. That is a special stat right there.
You love it. Oh.
I do not. It makes me kind of want to throw up in my mouth, actually. Christian McCaffrey having a nice night.
San Francisco defense.
San Francisco overall looking pretty good. You can't really be too upset. I mean, Kittle 2 for 26. You don't really love that, but even that is like, it's a 4. You know what I mean? It's a 4 in the first half. It's not what you're hoping for, but it's not a disaster. You know what I mean?
Final zone, you're happy.
Even if he gets 8, I would take an 8. I'm not happy about it, but it's tight end. You know what I mean? I would live with it. If he got a 10, I don't think you're allowed to complain. You know what I mean? If he gets to 10, I don't think you're really allowed to complain at that point, given what tight end actually is anymore. If he gets to 8, I don't feel like you're really allowed to complain too much either. Maybe you could complain a little. Bit. But realistically, what's he done this year? He's got a 4 and a 6. You're hoping for a little better with Ayuk not being in the game tonight, but he's got a 4 in the first half. Look, if you're playing, this is why we didn't have any questions in the beginning about start sits and finding substitutes for Giants because no one's playing any Giants. Daniel Jones has 90 yards passing in the first half.
I mean, Brock Purdy is actually kind of struggling.
Yeah, but it's Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy fine. It's just he's not.
He's 202. That's kind of what you're hoping for every week.
Yeah, he's got 157 yards and a touchdown. If he finishes the night with 250 yards and a touchdown, are you really allowed to be that upset? Again, it's kind of similar to the Kittle getting a little upset. A little upset. You're hoping for the second touchdown. Because if he gets 250 and 2,
money.
High five everybody because you got what you wanted. It's that's all it is. But enjoy the second half of this game that is happening in the background. I think what you're worried about at this point is, in all seriousness, I think what you're worried about at this point is the 49ers come out and go up 24-6 in the third quarter, and then they're just done. And they just don't even play the fourth quarter. Debo sits, Kittle sits, CMC sits. But I will say they are making more of an effort to get Elijah Mitchell the ball already.
Yeah.
5 carries for 30. Yeah, well, he's got 5 carries for like close to 40 yards and 2 catches. I think they're realizing Shanahan said in the press all week that they need to make more of a point to get Mitchell the ball because they can't ride CMC the way they've been doing because they know what'll happen. He'll die. And they need CMC for later. They don't need
You're
him on
hoping for
Thursday
15
night.
to 18 touches for CMC every week. That should be his.
Yeah, that seems rational because 15 to 20 is probably like good. Don't and then later in the season, if you need it, you need it. You lean on him more. But on a Thursday night game where you're gonna pants the New York Giants, you don't need CMC. He's already scored. He's got 10 carries. He's got like 50 yards, and he's caught some passes. I have a feeling CMC is probably going to be getting shut down here at some point in the third quarter if the game keeps going the way it goes. So it is what it is.
He already has double-digit fantasy points.
I know because he scored.
Well, and he
So
has three receptions for 26 yards.
Yeah, if you're a CMC, manager, you're hoping for the moon, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and he's going to blow it out. But I think what's more real is like he's going to probably get
so that's
sat down.
5.6, 11.7 plus 6. So
18,
18 points.
18, yeah, roughly. So yeah, you got a third. You probably be out there for some
in
of
the first half,
right? So you're hoping for the 35, but it's like
you also don't want that.
Yeah. Settle for a 22. Take your 22 in the in the third quarter, and then just hope they just put him in bubble wrap, and just put him on the sideline. Like no, put Mitchell in. Like, and this is also why I've been saying we talked about it earlier in the show. Mitchell's dropped to a point where he's available in more than 50% of leagues. That is a mistake. That's a mistake.
Yep.
Look at what happened to Jerome Ford. People out here blowing their whole fab budget for the year on Jerome Ford. Like, go get CMC. Go get get Elijah
Spears,
Mitchell.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Mitchell.
Do it now. Do it now because it won't be cheap later. You'll ruin your whole year potentially from a fab perspective. But anyway, Jason, final thoughts before we let everybody go and we'll see them again on Sunday?
Yeah, just make sure you're back Sunday. Sorry you have to watch this game on Thursday night.
Yeah. Maybe go read a book. I don't know. Who am I kidding? No one who listens to us reads a book. What did I?
Go watch a movie. Go.
Yeah, there you go.
Out.
Go watch the Meg 2. That seems more real.
It's almost Halloween. I'm excited for that new Saw that's coming out at the end of the month.
Oh man.
No,
I shouldn't make jokes. I shouldn't make jokes because I'm sure people who do listen to this probably do read. Like, I'm sure there are some people who do read, who listen to this. But I gotta make. I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't making my smart ass comments. But yeah, check us out on Sunday. We had a really nice turnout last Sunday. I was actually like kind of surprised we had so many people. We had a huge amount of people on Sunday morning, so we're going to do it again, and we'll keep doing it as long as people want to keep showing up. But get your last minute lineup questions. 10 o'clock Mountain, 11 o'clock Central, noon Eastern. We're on here. It's Jason on by himself, but you want to know who moderates the chat? Me. I moderate the chat on Sundays. Yeah. I'm the one typing in the background. So I moderate the chat in the background on Sundays. But we can't banter and do sarcasm and screw around. It's too fast. The questions have to go very, very quickly. So I run the chat in the background, and that's what's happening on Sundays. So get your questions last minute on Sundays, and welcome in, bud. Happy to have you, buddy. That's going to be really hard for me. I might have to start calling you Mr. Austin. I don't know. Like or I might start calling you Steve Austin. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. We'll workshop it.
Cold.
Yeah, baby. We're going to workshop it, and I'll get back to you. But happy to have you, bud, for the season. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll get you set up with the codes, and then we'll start doing we'll start breaking down your team. So looking forward to that. And I will alert Steve that we have a new patron in the background. We got a couple this week, actually. I think we have 3 in the last 2 days.
Always a blast. I saw
We do get the best screen names on Sunday, Polo. I agree with that. We get some bangers. We get some banger screen names.
I was
on
getting
Sunday.
a little red saying the names last week.
I was laughing at that because I'm like, they're expecting Jason to actually like read this into the camera. Hurtin' for a Squirtin' was my favorite. That was fabulous screen name. That it's the right level of inappropriate. It's just the right level. See, the way to do it would have been to get Hurtin' for a Squirtin' 42069. That's the real screen name you want. Like that was lemon juice. Just fabulous. What a screen. What an online presence. Like that was my favorite.
So I have to read them all out loud? Is that what you're saying? I need
No, you did that to yourself. I didn't make you do that. No one told you to do that. You just started doing it. Like,
well, because that's normally how we do it. We say the name and we answer.
You do that. I'm just moderating the chat. Like, no, I will say if there are any really appropriate screen names, I won't put them up. So if you show up with that alt-right shit, your questions aren't getting answered. I'll tell you that right now. I will literally ban you. Because you got to get through me as your screener. But if you can make Jason blush on camera, I'm putting it up. Like all those get shipped. They immediately go through. Like some of the ones that were hilarious, I was just putting those to the front of the line. Like go. These are great. Like
yeah, there's too many.
Yeah, so was I. I was glad I wasn't on camera because we weren't going to get anything done. We weren't going to get anything done at all. We were just going to start making... This is why I'm not on camera for that, because the pace is too fast. Somebody has to literally be sitting there just dealing with the chat. We got like 50 people on there just asking questions rapid fire. Like, it's too...
Yeah, Polo, we need you on Sunday to make sure that people are getting in there. Because I try not to look at my phone during that time.
Yeah, well, we had no shortage of people last week, man. Like, it was a little slow in the beginning, but after about the first 5 minutes, it was like, no, we're off and running. So we're good. Anyway, it's about to be the end of halftime. Go enjoy the second half of the game and eat some dinner, read a book, see a movie. I don't know. Talk to your family, maybe. I don't know. Depends on your family. It might be highly overrated. Might be fine. I don't know. Everybody's family's a little bit different. Like, but yeah, do something that isn't that isn't talking to us, because we're gonna check out. We're gonna head off into the weekend here. Tune in tomorrow for Mason and get locked in, get all your degenerate gambling picks, and then tune back in on Sunday as I moderate the chat and we try to make Jason blush with the most inappropriate team names. I might start awarding internet points and creating coupon codes for the most inappropriate names. Like, Polo, what do you think about that idea? Before we go, you think that's a good idea? Should I start offering like promo codes for the website? If you can make Jason like just completely start like beat red on there, I might give people a free like couple months to the website if they can really like push the boat out on Jason. I might start figuring that out in the background. I think that might be what we do. All right, we'll look into that in the background. We'll look into that in the background. If you can make Jason like cry or something, like cry like tears of joy, or like turn beet red, like to the point where he's purple, I think I might give you like a month or two free in the background. We'll workshop that idea. We'll see what's possible in the background. But until then, tune in to see if anybody can get free time on the website on Sunday. But until then, keep up the nonsense. And thank you, Polo. Appreciate you as always, buddy.